Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I love what she stands for. The word peace resonates with me. I think it should for all of us because it means everything, in my opinion. I used to go to church when I was younger, even older. People would say, "Peace be with you, peace be with you." I'd say the same thing back. Had no idea what they were talking about until one day I realized I just need peace. I need inner peace. And that's what she helps you reclaim. And she does that through a very interesting mix of different modalities as a certified life coach, a spiritual educator. She's also a relationship mentor and so much more. River Zuwiala joins us here on the program. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks, Steve. Glad to be here.
Good to have you here. Innerpeaceproject.net is your website. So I just wanted to share that to make sure we're clear. It's all about peace. And sometimes with that peace comes emotion. Sometimes the emotions get in the way of your inner peace. So we're going to talk about working with your emotions, what they actually mean to you. How do you define emotion? Let's start there.
An emotion it can be triggered and it can be a good emotion or a negative emotion. It's a feeling that we have inside, and some people can't pinpoint what it exactly is. Some people have so much trauma inside them, and how they learned to deal with it as a child or not deal with it has created some kind of blockage within their programming, in their patterning. And if they don't learn how to use emotional intelligence, then their emotions will get so stifled that they won't even be able to understand their own emotions and what is going on inside of them. So they may act out because they don't know how to get needs met because they haven't been taught properly, or somebody might have ignored them and not met their needs that way, or they could have done something traumatic to them to shut them down. So either which way, their emotions have been set up in such a way that they don't understand them themselves. So you have the insecure attachments and the secure attachments. And a secure attachment will have a much higher emotional intelligence than an insecure attachment. So this is why we actually want to raise the vibration. And that's what inner peace is. When you are stuck in a cyclone, basically, the cyclone is all around you. But the eye of the storm, that's where the calm and peace is. And you can see everything clearly on the inside. So I take people inward. That's where they find the peace. They don't find it outside of themselves. They find it on the inside. So, AKA inner peace project, finding that self-love, finding that inner peace through all the chaos and being able to deal with your emotions, being able to understand your emotions and being able to label your emotions, which some people can't because they don't understand what is going on. So with the modalities that I use, when you actually learn how to implement certain things in your life, you can go in and find those emotions. And then you can make sense of what happened to you when you're a child. It's amazing how people interpret things differently. And if you want to go briefly into the different kinds of attachment styles, like I said, the secure and insecure, the insecure attachment styles are either a dismissive avoidant, which they kind of run away and they avoid things, and the anxious attachment, which those are the ones who are like, please don't leave me, please don't leave me. But either which way, they both have abandonment wounds of some kind. And there also could be rejection wounds as well. But mostly with abandonment wounds is because they could be there presently with them physically, but not emotionally. So if somebody doesn't have an emotional attachment, they can't show it to you, then how are you going to learn it? Right?
A lot to process here. When it comes to emotion, should you keep it contained? And the reason I'm bringing this up, I'm in a men's group, been part of for about 6 months, 7 months, somewhere around there. And one of the things that is spoken about is don't show any emotion. Now, hold on a second before there's any judgment here. Men get a bad rap for not showing emotion. They're not emotional. I'm not one of those men. But the theory is don't let your emotions get in the way. If you're going to speak with somebody, you're going to send an email, a text, or whatever it is, process it and don't let the emotion get in the way of the message. But I'm not talking about containing it because I feel after a while, it's like having, I call it the emotional backpack. You keep throwing things back there. After a while, fall backwards because it's so heavy. There's so much there that you didn't purge or didn't process. But how do you suggest, River, displaying and processing emotion?
Displaying it, people have a tendency to hold back on them because they're afraid of what somebody else is going to judge them on and how they're going to interpret it.
Sure.
So they have a tendency to shut down. This is where the insecure attachments come in because people are afraid of how they actually feel. And because they don't sometimes actually know how they feel, they don't know how to express that. So when they say to a man, don't show your expressions or don't show your emotions, to me, that's blocking your authenticity. However, if you have some very strong emotions that could possibly get in the way of moving forward and getting your message across, then yeah, you're going to want to try to not contain it, like you said, but process it before you present it, because that's going to
Yes,
give you more traction in how you're going to be perceived.
I
And
totally agree.
isn't everybody worried about how somebody perceives them?
Yeah. Yeah. And, flying off the handle because you let the emotions get the best of you. So I have this debate with friends, colleagues. I'm going to pose this question to you because I think it's in the wheelhouse of what we're talking about. Is anger an emotion? Is it just anger?
It's not just anger. And here's why. Because anger is actually a trigger. And it has to do with how we perceive things. Anger is not something that a baby is born with. They don't get angry unless they're not getting a need met. Correct? If they're sitting in a dirty diaper, they want somebody to pay attention to them because they don't want to be in it. If they're hungry, they're going to need to express themselves. So they have to have some kind of emotion. Now, it's not going to be anger at first. A baby is not going to be angry.
Sure.
It's going to be a trigger when eventually somebody is not paying attention to them and they're not getting their needs met. So that's where anger comes from. If somebody is getting them so-called pissed off, then it's because there's something that is not meeting their needs, where they're not feeling heard. And that's another thing where anger can come in, or any emotions, is when you have your voice, but you're not using it, or when somebody stifles your voice and you can't be heard. So when people are shut down and they don't express themselves, then their emotions can get in the way of not feeling good enough, not feeling as if they're loved or cared for in an expressive way, because they're blocking everything. They're afraid to speak, they're afraid to voice their opinions, but they will accept other people's opinions as their own, which, if I can have a shout out to Chick Mormon. I love him. Chick Mormon wrote a book, Talk Sense to Yourself. I should probably have it here, but I don't. However, Chick Mormon wrote a book, Talk Sense to Yourself. And when you have other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions in your head, and you don't know how to decipher your own, I highly recommend his book, Talk Sense to Yourself. It'll get other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions out of your head. And it'll help
Interesting.
you empower yourself back to normalcy.
It can very easily get the best of you. When you got something going on, let's say a conflict with somebody, there's so many emotions swirling that it's hard to even get clarity on what's going on. And
Mhm.
nonetheless, try to verbalize it and try to contain it at the same time. We're talking emotion here, River. Inner peace. It's all part of it. Once you, I
Mhm.
believe, right? If you keep your emotions in check and you've got a, kind of a handle on it, you're gonna find that inner peace. Do you remember the moment that you realize that you have inner peace?
Yes. When you're looking into the eyes of somebody that you love and you're in a moment of pure bliss, how could you not be in a state of peace when everything else around you is in chaos and you have a feeling of calm and peace and you know that it feels like a safe place? That's peace.
Now, I'm going to jump in here. That's relying on somebody else for your inner peace now, isn't it?
That's a choice.
Okay.
It's a choice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Everything's a choice.
So if you're having inner peace, it's because you're choosing that emotion. All our
Okay.
emotions are chosen.
Mm-hmm.
It happens to be how we perceive things. So if you want to say inner peace without having anybody else involved, that comes down to how do you affect yourself? So if I'm saying that when you're looking into the eyes of somebody else, it's actually a reflection of what's going on inside yourself.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not taking anything away from your inner peace. Fantastic. Good for you. Jealous. Um, I just, yeah, I didn't know that. I never heard somebody say that your inner peace could be connected to somebody else in your life. Hmm. Interesting.
It's a reflection of our inner world.
Right.
So like the people that we choose to be around, it's because they have something in them that we appreciate, that we like about them. And when we don't want to be around them, it's a reflection of something inside of us that we don't either resonate with or we don't like about ourselves. It's all about our inner world because everything outside of us has no effect on us unless we interpret, and we interpret through our inner world.
Well, truer words never more spoken than we have a choice. Everything. How do you react to something? You have a choice. What's going to happen in the next 5 seconds? We have a choice. We can't control things, but we can control how we react to them.
Hmm. Reaction, yes.
Mm.
So you have a choice to either stay where you are, or you can move forward out of a place of reaction and take action. Or you have a choice, like even if you choose not to choose something, you're allowing somebody else to make a choice for you. So that's still a choice. So
Mm.
action,
Mm.
reaction.
Mm. What can you suggest when it comes to dealing with our emotions so they don't get the best of us? How do we keep them in, how do we keep them in check?
You stay calm. How do you do that? People have so much overwhelm happening in their life that sometimes people are so like they're on the verge of burnout and they just can't take anymore because their tank is so full and they're so overwhelmed with things that all they want to do is find peace and quiet. So, what does that mean, peace and quiet? When you go inwards and you meditate, you find peace and quiet. That doesn't require anybody else to do it for you. It requires you to do it for you. And everything that you do for yourself is important, and that's self love. If you don't ask for help when you need it, then that is not self love. And you don't get peace from that. You get peace when you actually voice things to people, not in a negative way, not in an angry kind of way.
Sure.
But if you need help and you ask for it, That's an act of kindness. And it's also offering somebody else the opportunity to help you out and
Yep.
make them feel good about helping you out.
Exactly. And so many times we're afraid to ask for help because I don't want to bother anybody. I got this. I'm self-sufficient. It's all good. But no, you're giving somebody else the opportunity. Quick story with that men's group I mentioned. About 4 months ago, we got together, 10 of us, to clean up the backyard of somebody who was going through cancer treatment. The wife was going through surgery. It's one of the men in the group. I don't even really know the man. We're all there. Now, I sold a house last year. I miss being in the backyard. That was my therapy. Didn't realize it until I wasn't doing it anymore. That's how I got grounded. So I'm there moving the mulch in my hands and knees. It was like wonderful, great. And the man that owned the house came up to me with just almost tears in his eyes. And he said, "Thank you so much for what you're doing here today, you and everybody else." And I looked at him. I'm like, "No, thank you for allowing me to be in your dirt in your backyard. This is the best time I've had in so long." So I'm so glad he asked us to do it. And then we volunteered as well. But yes, it's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
have a little story also, Steve, about this one girl. It was Christmas time and she was so excited. And this is about receiving, giving and receiving. So she was so excited. She had a perfect gift for her boyfriend for Christmas. And I said, "Well, what is he getting you?" And she said, "I told him if he got me anything, I was going to break up with him because I don't want anything from him." And I said, "Well, isn't that kind of selfish?" And people all looked at me and they're like, "How is that selfish?" And I'm thinking, how do you not understand this? You are
Mm.
so excited and elated that you have something special that you know he's going to love, and you can't wait to give that to him. How do you feel about that? You're excited, you're happy about it. Why are you depriving him of the same thing? Why can't he give to you also? Why do you not have to be able to just not receive? How come he can't give you something if he wants to? Why are you blocking him from that?
Love
A
that.
gift
I
is
love
not
that.
a gift unless it's received, right?
I love that. And initially, the first thought was, and the people that reacted to what you said, like, "Oh, whoa, wait a minute." But no, you're taking away his opportunity to make you happy, but it also makes him happy at the same time.
Absolutely.
Love it. Wow.
Mhm.
How do you work with people to help them reclaim their inner peace?
I help to show them, I usually take them into a guided meditation, use telepathy as well, because when you use certain modalities, you get there so much faster. You bypass a lot of unnecessary consciousness. You go into the subconscious brain and you retrieve information, but you don't have to stay there. You don't have to spend hours and years with a psychiatrist. I one day actually spoke to this girl and I asked her one question, and she's telling me that she was just getting there with somebody, her psychiatrist. And I said, "How long did it take?" And she said, "5 years." And I'm thinking, I just asked you, and we weren't even talking for a half an hour. What took her so long to get to that particular question? It made no sense to me. So if you literally take somebody, what I call taking them in, it's not quite hypnotherapy. You're taking them into a guided meditation to see and speak to their inner child. And through the inner child work, through the guided meditation, through the inner child work, through telepathy, talking to that particular person, they will take you there. You don't take them there. You take them to a place and then they take over and they tell you where they're at. So if they're standing in front of a parent who either neglected them or abused them in some kind of way, they can get that information back and utilize it and understand themselves like that in an instant. Where a psychiatrist, if they go to them, is not going to take them there in that kind of way. And it's going to take a lot longer for them to start acknowledging, where am I? What am I doing? How did I get there? But this way, it's so direct. It's like,
Hmm.
it's almost instantaneous. It might take a couple hours, but it's so well worth it because you're not wasting years and years and years trying to get there. It's amazing.
It's amazing. And there's different modalities to get there. I used hypnotherapy along with other things as well. Um, Probably a blend of before we met some of the things that you offer. Um, but confronting your inner child, which we'll go deep into next time we get together. And they also say it's like reparenting yourself. You are your
Yes.
parent all over again. And what are we talking about here? Healing from the traumas from your childhood. Anybody think you don't have any traumas? You do.
Oh, okay. So the people that think that they don't have any traumas, have you ever overheard a conversation and felt bad because it was directed at you or you thought it was? That can be such a deep, deep trauma wound that you have no clue about. I've seen it happen. I've seen it really affect an adult from something that they overheard as a child. And it
Yes.
wasn't even direct.
River, I use that example all the time. I really do. I can't believe you're saying that because that's the one. Yeah, we have big traumas. Parents get divorced, got bullied on the playground, passing of a close relative. That's a big T trauma. But the one you're referring to, that's the exact one that I use as an example to try and explain to somebody. You passing by the kitchen, mom and dad said something. You heard it. It wasn't even for you. You internalize it. You're 6. What do you know? Now you carry that. And now you're, I don't know, 46, 50, whatever. And now that's holding you back, but you don't even know that it is.
Right.
Huge, huge.
It is. You would not believe how huge something that seems so insignificant
Oh, yeah.
really actually is. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. And I look at people too. I don't judge anybody, but even in relationships and things like that, and they'll say something like, yeah, it was in a relationship with someone. And anytime I talk about anything, even relationship related, not major things or anything like that, I'd always hear, oh, so it's my fault. Oh, so it's my fault. And I look at their family and their upbringing and I don't know. I don't know the details, but to me, I don't know where they came from. I can't process that.
That has to do with blame and shame. So if a parent has blamed and shamed you, or a sibling, or anybody that you know growing up, if they have pointed the finger at you, or you've heard somebody else have the finger pointed at them, like this is your fault, and you're looking at them like, what do you mean? I didn't have anything to do with this. But
Mm,
hearsay, it happened to be your fault, or they're going to blame you to get out of it themselves. So this is like, you see these little kids on YouTube, right? And they look so adorable and they can't even speak yet. And they're going, and shaking their head, shaking their bodies, and putting their hands on their hips as if there's something wrong. And they're going to tell you like it is. And people are liking it and they're like, oh, what's wrong with that? It's so cute and it's so adorable. Wait until they're a teenager. Because if that's what they're doing before they can even speak, what's it going to be like when they get older?
wow.
Learned. It's all like an experience. They learn these things from watching. They learn it from hearing things. They pick things up from external, but they're internalizing everything.
Yeah.
So everything that we have going on as an infant, as a child, is going to affect us. If we have a parent, let's say, who, let's say they're borderline personality or bipolar,
Sure.
and the child comes home one day from school and it's a really nice day out, and no, you can't go out. You have to get your homework done. And the next day, it's a beautiful day, and the parent says, get out of the house. It's such a nice day. What are you doing inside? And they're like, wow, I can go play today. This is really great. And they come home the next day and it's a really nice day. And parents seems like they're in a good mood again. And now they get in trouble because they want to go out and play. And they actually ask, but they're not allowed to. So now they get grounded for a whole entire month because mom or dad, whoever doesn't want them to go out and play, says, no, you got to get your homework done. Where do you think you're going? And they're in a bad mood. They just flip the switch. So you never know what you're going to get. It's like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And if this is the kind of thing you're dealing with, an absent parent, one time they're absent and one time they're emotionally there. What do? You have to internalize that into, how do I survive? And if you learn how to survive, this is what makes or breaks a secure attachment style.
Wow.
It either makes you into a dismissive avoidant or an anxious avoidant or an anxious person, just anxious.
We have to press the pause button. We're out of time. And I want to just keep going because this is fundamental. This is everything in terms of how we act and react. River, somebody wants to work with you, find some inner peace, figure this all out. How does that begin?
Contact me through you can contact me on my phone, 610-413-7075. My website, like you said, is innerpeace.net.
Inner Peace Project, right?
Innerpeaceproject.net, yes. I'm just so involved in this conversation, Steve.
I know, me too. I just love the word project.
Go on and on for hours.
I love the word project because guess what? We're all a project. We're a project in progress. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wonderful talking with you, River. As we said, next time, perhaps we get together and talk about the inner child work and how you can support. We started there. So if it's okay, maybe we'll pick up there next time we get together.
Absolutely.
I
would love to, Steve.
Yeah, same here. Great talking with you.
Great talking with you too.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.